Afternoon, everybody. Rob Bartenstein here at Kestra Private Wealth Services, and this is PWS on the Fly. We are in Salt Lake City, Utah today, sitting at the base of the Cottonwood Canyon, looking up at ski resorts like Alta and Snowbird. I'm joined, of course, as always, by my partner, Scott Wilson, COO of PWS, and our guest today from Katella Wealth Management here in Salt Lake. We have Lisa Turner and Valerie Taggart with an A. So welcome. Good to have you guys as a part of the podcast today. Thanks for coming in. Why don't we just get the ball rolling, Lisa, with a little bit of an intro about you and the firm and how long you've been in the business and that sort of thing.
Okay. Well, as you said, I'm Lisa Turner. I founded Katella Wealth Management just over 2 years ago. I started in this industry in 2001. I think it's significant. I was thinking about this morning that today is 9/11 because I remember exactly where I was on 9/11, and I had started in this industry as an assistant about 6 months prior to 9/11 happening. And after that happened, I thought, my goodness, I might have chosen the wrong profession, as of course there was a lot of chaos that ensued after that. But I quickly realized that I didn't want to be the assistant. I wanted to be the guy on the other side of the table. So a year and a half later, I got licensed. Funny enough, the firm that I worked for 20 years actually originally turned me down when I applied to be an advisor. I always tell this story because I thought it was funny. So I said, okay, fine. I'll just go get my examinations by myself. I'll go take my 7. I'll take my 66, and we'll see what happens after that. And of course, then they hired me, and the rest is kind of history. I spent over 20 years there. And then a couple of years ago, decided it was time to make a change. And here I am.
That's a great story. And it's so cool because there are so many stories like that in our business where people kind of maybe had the door closed in their face a few times and just found a way. And invariably, those people end up being the ones who have what it takes to really build a business and be successful in the space. So congratulations to you. You guys want to talk a little bit about Catella and maybe let's start with maybe where the name comes from because it's a cool story, and then tell us what your vision is.
It is a cool story.
It always makes me chuckle a little bit when people ask me about this. So Catella is a street where Disneyland was built. Disneyland is built on Catella and Harbor. It's right on the corner. And Walt Disney has always been an icon and kind of a inspiration to me, and I'm a big Disney dork, as you see. I'm even wearing my Disney necklace, which I wear every day, and everyone always comments. My entire office is filled with Disney quotes, and there are a couple of reasons for that. In this industry, I think, especially as a female, there's not very many of us, and when I started in this industry, there were 2 in the entire valley at the firm at the time, and of course that's grown, but nobody really had a lot of belief in me. In fact, the advisor I worked for as an assistant was like, well, good luck, because the women just don't make it in this industry. It's literally what he said to me when I walked out the door.
It's encouraging.
Right?
Very.
So when I was able to pick a name and kind of start my own branding, I had to incorporate Disney somehow. And one of Disney's famous quotes, and this one is one that a lot of people know, is first think, second believe, third dream, and finally dare. And I think in this industry, for anyone, male or female, you have to dare, right? And it was a huge jump going to the independent space. It was terrifying. But it just made me think again about that quote, and nobody believed in him either. And look at the success that he had.
We knew the day that we met you. I remember Rob and I were talking about it, that you were not afraid.
Yeah.
I mean, in the independent space was new to you and what we could, offer and what you could offer your clients. But there was never any doubt that you were going to be successful and build something special. And when you told us about the name, we smiled. And then as we sort of thought more about it and we got to know you better, it fit. And I think that's what's awesome about doing this in the independent space. You can build it the way you want to build it, and it works really well for you.
Yeah.
And,
and I think this is an important time, though, to talk a little bit about the PWS side of things, because independence overall, as obviously I was interviewing a number of different places to land, it was terrifying to me. And the thought of doing all of the leasing, the internet stuff, all of that, I just went, oh my gosh, how am I going to do all of this? I'm going to have to hire like 6 people. This is not what I want to do. It's not what I want to spend any time on because it's just not my passion. So that's when I found PWS, I just thought this is the perfect marriage. So it's independence with a twist.
Yeah, it is. That you really kind of just hit the broad nail on the head as far as our business model is concerned. I mean, when we sat down and started really plotting what the future of this business would look like, we described to ourselves what you just said, which is how can we take all the things that we've learned being on both sides of the ball, being advisors and then being in management, and combine them to make a place for people who want to own the business and be in the business, but not have to worry about a bunch of stuff that they don't have any experience with. Like the first thing you mentioned was leasing and commercial space. And that can be kind of terrifying for people. So we knew if we solved that along with tech and compliance and a couple of other things, that we would really narrow that chasm between where people were and where they wanted to be. And so it's cool to hear you say that back to us after, a decade or so of doing this. It's kind of neat. Along those lines, let's talk about your experience with independence. So there was a draw to independence and you had kind of a vision for what you wanted to do. So you're a little bit down the path now. Tell us how you're feeling about it.
Well, and in the beginning, I just had no idea. I think I had been in a silo for so long and was always told what to do that once someone said, no, you can do what you want. This is your vision. You get to create it. You get to hire who you want to hire. You get to bring on partnerships that you want to partner with, which was a completely new concept to me. But it was also really exciting because finally, I felt like I had been told my entire career that I was building this business for myself. And I was building this business and building this business. And it was my blood, sweat, and tears. But at the end of the day, it was not my business.
Right.
It was someone else's. And that was a hard pill to swallow. And I think it's one thing I'm really passionate about now and is part of our vision and our mission is to make sure that people know that, hey, you're not building a business for yourself. You're building a business for a big, huge, massive corporation.
Right.
That at the end of the day can say whatever it is that they want. It's about their bottom line. It's not about you and it's not about your clients. And every time I tried to veer, it was like, well, no, you can't do it that way. Well, no, you can't do it that way. And the beauty of independence is that I have a multitude of tools available to me that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
It's almost embarrassing that there were so many things that I didn't know. And now, part of the reason I brought Valerie in too, Valerie's been running businesses since she was 16, and she left a business that she had run for 20 years. She knows the business side of things so much better than I do. And I knew immediately she was a perfect complement to me. So it's been an interesting journey. But now that we're in the second year and Valerie's come on, I'm really excited about where we're going with it.
I want to circle back in a second to platform, but it feels like where we are right now is we're talking about what it's like to be two women working together. And I really wanted to make sure that for our listeners that we covered that. Do you guys want to share some thoughts on that? Let me ask a question as a guy. Like, do you feel that there are elements that create a competitive advantage for you? And, how do you kind of exploit that or use that to make the business better, maybe as a place to start? But I'm curious as your thoughts,
right?
Overall.
I don't know. I feel like we create more of being women as a collaborative than anything. We are able to share ideas in an open space. There's not a lot of judgment. We're really into empowering each other. So it's very different. On the competitive side, though, Lisa can speak on that as far as, obviously, this is a very male-dominated industry. Previously, I came from a male-dominated industry, so this was not difficult for me to move into this space. And my biggest job is, just being Lisa's cheerleader. Really, at the end of the day, she's brilliant, and it's amazing to learn from her and get all the experience that I can get, because I know how to run a business, but I don't know her side of it. And she's teaching me that part of it, and I love it. So
I think women have a higher emotional intelligence. Nothing against you men, because of course we love you, but I do think
noted.
We have a higher emotional intelligence. So I think it makes it easier for us to have conversations, those difficult conversations with clients.
Yeah.
And we have more empathy. And it's natural to us because women are just natural caregivers. That's just what we do. And I think that makes a massive competitive advantage. I think a lot of people realize that having a female, especially a powerful female or I don't know what word to use there, but confident female on their team can really add something.
The only part of my experience that I think I can relate to this issue is that whenever I had a client who typically was a very successful man and who was running a business, large or small. The meetings were typically better from a planning perspective if his wife was there. So it breaks. There's something about women being in the mix. I feel like it breaks down some of those barriers, especially barriers that guys can put up between each other. And I can remember one meeting in particular, the CEO of a public company, and he, was kind of talking about some of their investments. And at about halfway through, he stopped, and the wife literally sort of elbowed him and said, "Finish, like tell him everything. They can't help us if they don't know everything." And so then he continued on. It's a small thing, but it's that was invaluable to us.
Well, and speaking of women, my experience too has been that a lot of the women don't feel heard when they sit down with their advisors. We just had one just recently, and I think women prioritize explanation and client understanding at a higher level and more than our male counterparts. Having a conversation with the wife of a client, and she was blown away. She's like, "Well, I've never been talked to like this before. I didn't even know any of these things." So, well, it's important for you to be a part of the conversation. And you do know that most of the women are going to end up with all the money because we live longer than you guys.
That's because we choose not to.
Yeah.
Well, and most women in general typically run the household. Not always, but think about it. Like at the end of the day, like they're the ones keeping everything together. They're the ones that are the glue. So it's important to have them involved in those conversations.
Well, things are changing. I mean, women, I think there are more women in the C-suite this year than ever before. And it's on a trend that they will outnumber male C-level. So I think it's important to have that touch. A lot of our female advisors also carry the CDFA because, as we all know, there's a healthy number of people that get divorced today. And some of those designations are not allowed to be used at some of the wirehouses. So it's kind of nice to be in an environment where you can take your business the direction you want on a platform and where they have tools that you can use your expertise and your personality and how you want to take the business. You can use whatever tools you want. It's your choice, as you said. We're not mandating if you use a tax planning tool or if you use Caribou for healthcare planning, or if you want to go down the front to be big into AI to analyze trust documents and life insurance. All that's there for you. Yeah. You guys get to choose where you want to take it. And I think when we sit down with you, and we have in the past, I could see your eyes light up when you were like, "Gosh, I don't have to, use that planning tool." No, you've got multiple choices to use on each category. So,
well, and that's one thing about building the practice. I think it's important, and what our vision is to build an ensemble practice. 65% of clients want their financial advisors to give them information or have an opinion for them on health insurance. And yet only 4% of them do. So just taking it back to some of the tools, Caribou is amazing. My goodness. You can throw in all of their information. It spits out 4 different things that are non-biased, have nothing to do with selling them anything, just tells them exactly what plan they should have. And let's face it, more than 50% of our clients are over 65. Every single one of them needs Medicare insurance. So we've actually been exploring whether we want to bring somebody in that only focuses on that as we continue to build this.
And you can. I mean, you can build any type of business you want. We have advisors. We have advisors in this city that own their own insurance, property and casualty division. We have people that own third-party administrators for retirement plans. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity outside of your traditional sort of asset management.
Exactly.
That's the core. But we have firms that's a minority part of their revenue stream now, which is what we advocate.
It's exciting because we have a lot of clients. We were talking to one just recently. They were needing some a new tax guy. We gave him the number. She said, it would be really nice to just come to your building and have everybody I need right there. I got my insurance guy. I've got my health insurance guy. That's really what clients want now. I think it's evolving. The industry's evolving. And where it used to be kind of taboo to have everybody in one space, now it's important to clients. They want to have a one-stop shop. They just want to come to me, and they know everybody working around me is somebody that I have vetted because they trust us.
And our folks, the beauty of our platform, we're going to make sure you stay within the regulatory environment of what's required there. There's a lot of independents, I think, stretch those limits.
Right.
I think we have a good partnership where we're going to say, you can do it this way if you want. You may not do it completely the way you were thinking, but
Right.
we've got good folks in our compliance and supervision group that I think are great partners to get you there to make sure you stay within the guidelines of what.
And that's a really good point, because it's another factor or facet of the business that we have been, spent the last 12 years trying to build. And it's just this idea that everybody who is coming from a wirehouse environment, a W-2 employee environment, everyone has more or less the same opinion of compliance, and it's the third rail. It's like if they call, it's never good news, right? So to be able to sort of take some of the steam out of that and create an environment where the compliance and supervision folks that are here, to Scott's point, are empowered to say, okay, I get that you're at a fork in the road, right? And there's a question there. We think if you go left, this is what it looks like. So probably shouldn't do that. And if you go right, this is what it looks like. And we'll help you get from A to B, because that's what we're here for.
Which is, I think, something that we love about it.
I was telling Valerie yesterday, I've never been excited about a compliance meeting ever,
Right.
but now I am.
Right.
It's one of the best meetings of the event.
Yeah.
It's still shocking to me that when we survey advisors every year, and I hate to say this because Frank and Mike will be listening, but compliance and supervision rank at the top of advisor survey results based on their satisfaction with business units across the whole firm. It's kind of crazy that that's the case, but I think it says a lot about how we get things done.
Well, I think that's a myth too. When you come from a wirehouse, we were always told all of these things. Independence means no compliance. You can do whatever you want.
Right.
Nobody's paying attention to you. And that's a myth that's out there that I believed myself for a lot of years. And now being on the other side of it, it's like, goodness sake, we are all regulated by the same people. And compliance is certainly important. But one thing that stood out to me too when I was interviewing, compliance was part of it, but the other part of it was something actually you said to me, Rob. I don't even remember if you said this. If you remember, you said this to me. You said, at the end of the day, you don't work for us, we work for you. No one had said that to me before.
Yeah.
And that just really resonated with me. And I think people need to understand the partnership of it. It's independence with a twist, like we said earlier.
Yeah, I might have to adopt that, independence with a twist. I think a big part of our ethos is that you, the advisor, the team, are our clients. And since we had long careers serving clients, our approach to working with you all is really no different than our approach was working with them. And it's all predicated on this notion that everybody has freedom of movement, can leave at any time, can go do other things, is probably constantly being called by somebody else who says, we have a better mousetrap, or we can pay you more money, or whatever. And so our job and the team's job is to make sure that we are constantly refining the business model and making sure that the service model meets all of your expectations, so that, that meteor that comes out of left field that would otherwise send you in a different direction from us doesn't have that sort of an effect. So it's a great virtuous cycle or circle or whatever you want to call it, where you're dependent upon us, we're dependent upon you, everybody's in this together. And we always talk about it that way. This is our firm. It's not
Absolutely.
Our firm, right? It's our firm, the big O. And I think that's the right way to think about it.
Yeah. And I think wirehouses like to pretend that that's who they are. Yeah. But the culture at the wirehouse is very limited to the people around you, right? And at my previous firm, it was no different. And I thought I had a culture that I really didn't have. And then I stepped out of it as we were talking again. There was a big case that we were dealing with, just touching on culture, because you brought that up. I was dealing with a big case. I was a little nervous about it, kind of stressed. I called you about it. I called you. I called everybody. But I also called Gary in St. Louis, and I called Clark in North Carolina, and I called Clint in Ogden. I called so many people in the Kestra world, the PWS world, and every single one of them was like, oh, yeah, hey, yeah, give me this time, and I'm going to sit down and let's have a discussion about it.
And I think that's what we've tried to build. I mean, a community of people. We were trained at the large firms. I mean, I started at the same firm that you started at. So did Rob, way back, long before you did. Wish it was 01. It was it had an 8 handle on it, unfortunately.
The dark ages.
But
be careful, you're showing your age.
Yeah, thank you. But I think we built something that when you call folks, I mean, we got 5 offices here in the Valley. Right. I saw when you came in today, everybody hugs. They all talk about business. We talk about how we can partner together. If you've got questions or concerns, maybe Craig, who's a specialist in 401k, or maybe Eddie and how he manages money, or maybe the Johnsons down in Provo. All those people will talk with you anytime, including any of our offices. So we tried to take the best of the wirehouse, which there are some really good things about what they do, but the size of the firm, you lose all that personal touch.
Absolutely.
And that's why we left and ultimately set this up is we knew that people were going to eventually want to go back to relationships. That's what we try to build. We could have grown this thing to a size that was much bigger than what it is today.
For sure.
But we hire people like you that are higher end producers that manage a significant amount of assets. And those people like to talk with other advisors that are similar to the types of clients that they handle. So I'm glad to hear that that the folks within the community have been very supportive.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I talk to one of them. We talk every week.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
They're fabulous.
Well, I think it's cool that the combination of everything that we're talking about here is you have a firm that belongs to you, that is authentically yours from a brand and brand vision standpoint. Your clients feel that resonates. I'm sure, as we see elsewhere, when that's happening, clients are more apt to refer people because the experience they're having just seems so perfect to them. And then you combine that with this community, especially here in the Salt Lake Valley, where from Ogden to Provo, it's really just taken off.
Yeah.
And we've got a great group of advisors. I think you put all those things together and you really got a great recipe for a good, obviously a good working environment, which leads to all the professional satisfaction that you could ask for. But there's also a really significant personal element of this with, like, to Scott's point, everybody in here is hugging, hello. And you know what I mean? It's just not that same corporate.
They weren't hugging at Merrill Lynch when we were.
No, there was no
hugging.
No hugging. You will not hug.
Quite the opposite.
Somebody will, that would be bad.
I'm intrigued too about the combination of the two of you, and we've gotten to know you quite well. I'd like to hear sort of what you guys are trying to do to grow your asset base with your background in the industry that was completely different than this, and same in your situation. What are you guys doing together to tackle the valley and look for the type of clients you're looking for?
Well, I think the goal is always the higher net worth clients, which there were a lot of things that made it difficult to help because they have complex issues, right? Now we can actually handle those complex issues, and I have access to team members like John Amore, which was incredible.
Sure.
And then Valerie comes from an industry where people spend a whole lot of money on silly things they put in their garages.
Why don't we define what she means when she says that so people understand?
Not a refrigerator.
Yeah.
It's not a refrigerator. I came from an industry when automotive. So a lot of people are building custom vehicles, and most vehicles don't leave under $500,000.
Yeah.
So the network that I have that I've built over the last 20 years, just a lot of clients with that type of money. When you're building a $500,000 to $1 million car, that's pocket change for these people. So when, I actually still travel with a lot of my old clients, and now we're all friends. And so that kind of comes into this. In fact, we're actually traveling with some of them next week. So that opens up an introduction for Lisa to kind of move into that realm and see if they want to come over to us. So,
and we've heard a lot from some of those people just having normal conversations, not really about business, but just trying to get to know them a little more about how they may have 20, 30, 40 million invested, and they don't feel like they mean anything where they're at.
Right. Because they're at a big wirehouse and they're
that's
the
a problem.
minimum level.
Yeah. I said, that's a problem, and you should rethink that.
Right.
Well, I love hearing that, because I think there is a massive market for people that want a high touch personal relationship with people that are competent and have the tools to help them achieve their goals. Because in the end, it's about helping clients retire and retire comfortably, or retain and save and secure the money they've already earned. Many of these people don't need to grow their assets. They just need to make sure they don't lose it, and that they can pass the money to their kids effectively. And that's great to hear that you're doing that. Now, the office, and tell us where you're at in the valley here.
So I'm in West Jordan.
West Jordan.
West Jordan and South Jordan are right next to each other. So there's this
which is odd,
whole confusing thing about Jordan, but it's West Jordan.
Jordan Valley.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
It's just southwest of Salt Lake City is really where it is. About 20 minutes.
It's a cool little market. That's where your office was prior.
Yes.
You guys, what we're seeing a lot is people want to have their office close to where their clients are, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I've been on the same road for 23 years.
that's
Started 10 blocks to the north, was 10 blocks to the south, and now I'm right in the middle.
So we have very few requests for people to build offices for them downtown anywhere.
Right.
Nobody wants to go.
Nobody wants to go
nobody
downtown.
wants to go downtown.
Nobody wants to deal with parking and all that jazz. It's always, all of our locations these days are
like this one.
outside.
I mean, this office is gorgeous here.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful little area. So
Oh, well, and I love that I'm 3 miles from my house.
Yeah.
So I don't have to drive. Nobody wants
well,
to.
lifestyle is
Yeah.
an important part of this. I mean, and you have the freedom to work from your home.
Absolutely.
We don't have mandate that you have to be in 5 days a week. I mean, you run your business, you set, your HR policies, you set the sort of, service model you want for your clients. And, the beauty is we're here to support whatever that is. We're not here to tell you how to do it. We'll give you our advice, but living close to your clients in your office, we love that because we understand, we all have lives and children, and that's a big part of running an independent practice as well.
Well, that's the beauty of working for yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
That, I still have a 9 and 11-year-old. I have my kids a little later, and I don't have to miss things. In fact, I'm the room mom for both of them at the moment, which is going to be an interesting juggle act. But
Well, the
that's
tech
okay.
allows you to service your clients when you're on the go.
Mm-hmm.
Like we allow that sort of technology, and many of the
Honestly, I think that's one of the reasons we had so much success during COVID is
Yeah.
that we were ready when COVID hit and everybody needed to be remote. It was like, actually, this isn't hard at all. We're kind of already doing that. So that was huge. Look, we're running down to the end of our time here together. So first, I want to say thank you all for taking the time to come in and share your thoughts with us. It's really cool. But we'll ask one more question on the way out, and answer however you choose. But looking out over the horizon here, where are you guys going? What does it look like? What do you want to have happen?
It's big.
It is big. We say that we talk about it every week.
Yep.
Like we're building an empire.
Good.
Because truly, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's what our vision is. That's what we want to do. Mm-hmm. And I'll end that with one more silly Disney quote. It's not as well known, but it's one of my favorites.
It is.
Whatever you do, do it well. Do it so well that when people see you do it, they will want to come back and see you do it again. And they will want to bring others to show them how well you do what you do.
Yeah, that's great.
Nothing more we can say on that front.
Right?
I think it's a great place to wrap up. Thanks again for coming in, guys. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
This has been another edition of Kester Private Wealth Services on the Fly. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.